Island Press's publishing program is significant both in my work and in the sort of more general needs of the environmental community for two reasons. One, there really isn't all that much high-quality content published for environmental policymakers, whether it's by academic presses or by mainstream trade presses or even self-published by NGOs. There's just not that much. Second, there's a discipline within Island Press that makes sure that those publications are high-quality publications. Probably the most important thing, however, is not the publication of the book, but the outreach activities associated with the author. So it's hard for me to believe that almost any other press would take an author and support him or her on a year-long tour if they're only selling 4,000 units of the book. But candidly, for a lot of Island Press books, you only need to sell 4,000 units. You've touched most of the policymakers, you've touched a large number of the practitioners, you've gotten the word out there, and the reason it works is the use of the author as sort of a catalyst for the ideas. So the sort of model of Island Press of publishing at sort of the boutique level, but doing outreach like a gigantic institution seems to work really well.
Well, you know, one of the great reasons to work for Island Press is it's a wonderful group of people. That's a starter. Second thing is that they're the only press I know of that has a mission of trying to save the world, which is very, very important. And they put out the best books on environmental issues that anybody puts out. So I'm a great fan of Island Press. And got to remember that the threats to the globe that we're facing today are all in Island Press's the major ones are all in Island Press's area of concern because they're environmental. Even the threat of nuclear war is fundamentally also an environmental threat. So Island Press is one of the part of the thin red line trying to stand between civilization and its destruction.
My book, Lake Effect, came about because my sister asked me to write about her illness and its possible connections with pollution on the lake. She had a very serious form of ovarian cancer. While I was fulfilling my promise to my sister and writing the book that she had asked me to write, my own cancer was diagnosed. So what I like to say is that the book represents a promise fulfilled, its reward realized. If my sister had not had her cancer, I would not have known to look for mine. Island Press represented a unique opportunity for me. I was dealing with very complex issues, and they understood very clearly the need for a book like mine, but also the limits of a book like mine. And I was never pushed to do anything that was would be in the remotest way controversial or not well suited to my story. They were amazing.
You know, I decided to publish with Island Press. I mean, I looked at a lot of publishers, but the more I looked around, the more I realized that no one had published more books on water than Island Press had. And in fact, many of the sources that I use for my overview chapters looking at water issues were in fact authors who had been published by Island Press. And so in the end, being able to work with an editorial staff that had so much experience publishing books about water was very attractive to me. And frankly, the fact that it was a smaller, more nimble press that had a reputation for producing books quickly, when I was working on a book that really, from a book world perspective, was a deadline book, it was also attractive to me to work with a publisher that could turn the book around quite quickly and get it out so that it could influence and educate people while they were deciding whether or not to take this major new step forward in Great Lakes water management.
One of the things that really appeals to me about Island Press is that the entire list of books are environmental and science issue books, and these are actually really hard issues to persuade the public to read about. And I really like the idea of working with a publishing house who really understands this kind of book and is entirely focused on these issues, because I think it really makes a huge difference about understanding how to get them as wide an audience as possible.
I'm really excited to have been able to do this book. There haven't been that many books about population. Most of them don't sell that well, at least since the 1960s with Paul Ehrlich's The Population Bomb. It's not an issue that a lot of people are willing to take a risk on. I'm pleased that Island Press was interested in a book about population and willing to listen to my ideas and thought we could make a book about it. And I think it's typical of the way they're getting important books out about really critical human issues that need to be addressed, especially in terms of the environment. And for them to be able to see how closely population growth is connected to all the other environmental problems that their catalog of books looks at and addresses and tries to get people to read about and think about was really a gift to me. And I think it's important for the world as a whole. I think seeing this book being published by an important, significant publisher like Island Press is good for the reading public, just to simply get exposed to population as something that ought to be considered as one of the big issues on the table of the issues we talk about when we're thinking about our children's future, when we're thinking about the world's future. And I'm proud that it's out there, at least rattling around and hopefully being read and being discussed by people who go to bookstores and libraries and want to know what the latest thinking about the world is.
The choice to go with Island Press was an easy one. I had a great experience last time with my book Water Follies, and this time Island Press was excited about Unquenchable. I was excited about working with them again. They are the premier publisher of books on natural resources and the environment. The fit was just a natural fit.
I've worked on at least 6 books with Island Press, both being a contributor to anthologies, a co-author of books like Forgotten Pollinators, an introducer of Faith in the Seed, the wonderful rediscovered work of Henry David Thoreau, and of course Why Some Like It Hot and Where Our Food Comes From. Island Press connects with people and communities on the most urgent issues of our time, how people relate to this planet, how the community that we live in is more than the human community, but the plant and animal community as well. No press has challenged America's values and its way of stewarding the land, or not stewarding the land, I guess is more to the point, than Island Press has done. It has brought together a community of scholars and activists that deeply care about the fate of humankind and the natural resources of this planet that sustain humankind. And because it has a mission, it doesn't publish fluff.